Liverpool can finish. Liverpool can finish.
All right.
One like
Good afternoon, everyone.
almost like 2 days.
I believe you can all hear me, right? Okay. If I'm not audible, please somebody should let me know. All right. So we'll move to pandas. Can somebody respond to be sure that I'm connected?
You can hear.
All right. Thank you so much. So just like we have said, we are done with Python. So we'll be moving to pandas for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, we want to break it into 1.5 week because there's a lot to cover. So I would like us to follow along and speed up as much as we can so we can cover a lot. Let's open our Kaggle notes and go to pandas. Following that, but I won't be sharing that. I will only be sharing my collab notes. Let's go to pandas. If you are online, so go to pandas. From Kaggle, go to learn, then to pandas. So when you are done with that, then I'll start. So let me share my screen. So why do we need pandas as a machine learning engineer? Just like we have said, that machine learning is the act of forecasting, just forecasting future occurrence. So for us to forecast, we will definitely need some amount of data to rely on, right? So to handle such data, we need a library to handle data, and such library, one efficient library is pandas, or the most used library anyways, is pandas. So how do we use pandas? Since it's library, we can always import it. So we can import pandas. Please, can you mute yourself, or if you want to talk, you can proceed. So I will import pandas as PD, right? Now, I talked about Elias the last time, right? So once you run this, it becomes accessible to your work area. So the first lesson in that notes, Kaggle notes, is creating, reading, and writing. So how do we create data? First of all, pandas has 2 objects, right? The first object is a series, and second object is a data frame. Are we together? Let's start it with creating data frame. What is a data frame? A data frame is similar to a table, just like we have in an Excel, like rows and column structure. That is data frame. So let's start with creating data frame. Let's assume I want to create okay, my popular example. I want to create item of list and their prices, right? So to do that, since we've aliased pandas as PD, we do PD dot data frame. So capital D, capital F, let's take note of that. So PD dot data frame. Now we have our dictionary structure inside. So you put it like this. Now, first of all, the first column, I want it to be, let me say, goods. Call your dictionary. Now, the goods, we have a list of goods. So we have to have a list here. Then we itemize all those goods. Let's say purple. All right. Comma. Let's say mango. Right. Let me just leave it as that. So now the next column, so you put comma, right? The next column, I want prices. Then we have a list of price. Let's say 1,500. 1,500. Okay. I say 18,000, 19,800, right? So if I run this, I'm going to have our table created just like this. Are we together? So as you can see, um, our table has a default rows, a default index per se. So we have index 0, index 1. If you keep adding more values to your items, let's say rice, perhaps. Let me add 45,000, right? So you can say additionally another index has been added, which is index 2. So the next, I want to change this index. I'm not comfortable with default index 0, 1, 2. I want to put my own index, right? So after the list, then I can just put, outside the dictionary rather, I can put comma, then I'll put my index, right? So index, and I put a list again. So I can just say commodity A, then commodity B, then the next one, commodity C. If I run this, notice that my index has changed to what I want. So this is how to create data frame from scratch. Moving on, the second object in pandas is a series. So what is a series? A series is just one column in a data frame, or if I want to put it in a simpler form, just one column in a table. For instance, now this particular column called goods, right, is a series. Are we together? While the other column called price is also a series. So how do we create series from scratch? To create series, we do pd.series, capital letter S. Right? Now we put the items we want to, let's say I want to do create goods. So I'll just put a list of goods next. Try to just copy this and paste here. Right? So we have pawpaw, mango. If I run this, you will see series here just for that column. So that is the series. Now, the next thing is, what if I want to change my index, just like I have done in data frame? Same way, after the list, I can put a comma, then I just put index equals to, then I can put product goods A, goods B, and goods C, right? So if I run this, notice that the index has changed from default 0, 1, 2 to ABC, right? So that is. Now, series by default, this series by default don't usually assign the name. If you go back to the table, notice that the table here, goods, has a name, we're able to identify it. But in this case here, there's no way we will know the series you are working, or the column we are working with. I can put the name of the column by saying name equals to, right, goods. I run this, you see the name displayed. Okay, it's not showing that. That is that. Are we together? So, how many of you are working with Jupyter Notebook? Do I have anybody working with Jupyter Notebook? Or is everybody working with Colab? Or perhaps some of you might still be using, what is it called? Visual Studio. Well, you can use Visual Studio. Let me even know, please, which editor are you using? Can we all just respond? Which editor are you currently using presently now? Hello? You can unmute and okay, I can see a response, VS Code. Okay, thank God I asked. You will need to. So how have you been able to follow up? I'm sure you were not able to follow up with what I've been doing since. It's not enough to, because setup is also part of what you should know. I can see VS Code, only 2 response. I might not be able to assist anybody who is not, because I want to believe we should settle that case now. Not that you go to the group and start asking, how do you work, how do you work? I will not respond. Okay, so let us settle it now. If you're using VS Code, fine, it will work, but you have to install all those libraries. You have to install libraries like pandas. You have to install libraries like what's it called? Libraries like Matplotlib, every other libraries you will need. Are we together? I'll quickly show you how to do that. You go if you are using this VS Code. You will know if you have downloaded the extension for Python, right? If you have downloaded the Python extension, all you need to do is to go to the terminal. Terminal is always below. You should go to terminal and say pip install pandas, right? Pip install stal. So if I run this, you'll notice maybe you meant install. Okay, I spelled this wrongly. INSTALL. INSTALL. Okay. Now, if you are following me, you will notice that it says requirements already satisfied. Requirement already satisfied. If you do that in Visual Studio Code, it will work because you don't have it already. So why is it that it works here? Notebook already have all the libraries. Let me say most of the libraries. Most of the libraries you have, it already have it installed. Are we together? So it already have all the libraries you need installed. So that is why it is already installed, already the requirements already satisfied. Are we together? So I wouldn't advise you to use what's it called? To use Visual Studio because you'll be doing a lot of installation, right? So if you don't like working online, Collab is an online tool, right? You have to be online to use it because we are using their Google server there. However, if you want to work on your system, let's go to download Anaconda. So you just go to, let me just stop sharing this and share the other screen. So once you just go to download Anaconda, right? When you go to Anaconda, you will see download Anaconda distribution, right? You try to put your email address here. Once you put your email address here, right, and you click on, let me say, markchegman2 at Gmail, right? Markchegman2 at gmail.com. Once you click on submit, it gives you the link to download in your email. So once you just follow the link, it will get downloaded on your system. Installation is very easy to just install on your system and just follow the process, right? But for this class, we cannot start the installation now because it's just an hour class, right? So what I will advise you is to go online and type collab. Let's go to type Google Collab, right? Once you get to Google Collab, click here. So you go to open new, you go to new notebook here at the top left corner here. Once you go to new notebook, it's going to open up a notebook, right? You won't see that my screen now because it's opened a new tab for me, right? So let me just stop sharing this so you can see the new screen when it's working. Nice. Collab, Google Collab, okay, this is going. So you are going to have something like this. So you wouldn't need to be installing every other thing. For instance, Matplotlib, TensorFlow, whatever you want to need, it is already installed. Is that clear? Just the disadvantage of using Collab is that you always have to be online. But if you download an Anaconda, you wouldn't need to be online because it should be on your own computer, right? I hope that's clear. Okay, I want to believe I've been able to clear the work environment. So please let's just leave our VS Code for now and then move to Collab so we can work without installing anything for this class. So back to the node I'm working with. Stop sharing this. Share. Working with. So I wouldn't need to install pandas again since it's already installed. All right. So the series I've created, we've talked about this. So let's move on away from that. In most cases, you will not be creating your own file. As an ML engineer, you'll be needing a an already made large file. I just have to use to train your model and build your model, right? So how do we now read a file? Let's go online, or perhaps let me send a file to you on WhatsApp. Because I don't, you tell us to download now. I don't know, it might download slowly. So check your group. I'm sending a file to you now. An Excel file. Just in a minute. We are going to see it now. Let me give you the one we use for data analysis. So you can open up the file in your, just download it and make it available. So we'll be reading that file. Just I need to go to put it in my, what's it called? I open my download. Then I look for the file, which is byte sales function or something there. I'll scroll down. See what I get here again. Byte sales function. So I'll drag this file, back sales function. I'll put it in if I open up this place, right? Okay, let me use this. It's better I use it. This one is more simple, more simpler rather. So this place here, once you click on this, you click on upload session. So once I click here, then I'll select the file that I want. So bike sales function. I'll just open up that. Click on OK. So it will be available for me to use. Maybe remove that one there. So I have it here, bike sales. Oh, this is not the one I want. Okay, in any way, still the same data, just differently used. In fact, hello, is anybody downloading data or I should proceed with this data? I think I should. Yes. Leave everyone is good. That's why no one is talking. So to read this file, first of all, you have to check which type of file is it. Any file that ends with .xlxx, what type of extension is that? That is an Excel file. You should be familiar with file extensions by now. Microsoft Word stop with .docs or .docx. Excel stop at .xlx. PowerPoint is .ppt, right? CSV is .csv. It is text file, it is .txt. So this is an Excel file. So to read an Excel file, you say pd dot read Excel, since it is an Excel file, read Excel, right? Are we together? Then you open up this bike. Let me just copy this. Stop / bike sales lab .xlsx. Okay, my complaint of the okay, I have double. It's my complaint of the directory, probably because we've not mounted this thing. I'll create a new cell below this. So I'll say from Google, right? From Google dot google. Just a minute. So I want to mount the drive so that it will be able to use it. Just a minute, I'll get that. All right, so from google.collab, are we together? You import drive. Right? Then we now say drive dot mount. In fact, I can just paste this directly here. So from google.collab import drive, then we say drive.mount and your listing. So in your Google Drive, your directory is starting from contents /content/drive. So if I run this, it will prompt me that do I want to connect my drive to this notebook? So I'll click on connect, then follow the procedure, and then if you are using double authentication, it might send you some message on your phone to allow access. Are we together? So I'll click on continue. So I'll select all so that my collab nodes can have access to everything. So you notice this is running now. So let me now rerun this file. Okay. Let's see. Still having bikes, no such files in directory. Bikes here. Okay, there's no S. Pardon me. There's no S in the data. bike sales pivot table, BIKESALES PIVOT, capital letter L. It is very case sensitive. All right. So I have my data read. Please let me get confirmation before we proceed. Is somebody online with me? If I can see response, Abdulrahman, thank you so much. It's bike, not bikes. I've seen my error. All right, Blessing Adams, thank you for your response. Raymond, thank you for your response. Okay, so let's proceed. So now this is our data set. I told you we won't be creating from scratch most times, right? Most of the time, what it is, sometimes it is required that to solve your problem is to create from scratch. So this is the data set. I would like to save it inside a variable. So I will just call it bike sales. Bike sales. So if I save it inside a variable, and boom, I have it here. Right? So now that I have the whole data frame saved inside variable, so what can I do next? Let me check how many rows and how many columns I have. So to do that, bike sales, my variable, I can use .add, right? So once I use .add, it's going to give me the first 5 rows I have. As you can see, this is 5 rows. You can extend this by saying maybe first 10, by putting 10 there. So you have your first 10 rows in the data set, right? Since we have head, opposite of head is tail. So I can say .tail. So this is the last 5 rows. Can also increase by saying I want last 10 rows. Give me the last 10 rows. Okay, that is head and tail, previewing our data. So the next thing is we might want to see how many rows without doing all this. I can just say bike sales, right? Dot shape. Take note, there is not going to be open and close bracket here. So that will give me 88 rows, 19 columns. That's what I have in my data, right? 88 rows, 19 columns. So what about if I want to see the data type and each of the column? So I'll do bike sales dot info. This time you have to put open and close, just like method. We talked about method when we're dealing with Python. So if you run this, you're going to see everything at a glance. So let's break down everything in this data. First of all, class pandas.core.frame is telling us that we are dealing with pandas and we are dealing with data frame, right? Rate index total, we have about 88 rows, 88 entries, and our columns, we have about 19 columns. The first is column, the second is, do we have null there? Out of the 88, in the sales order column, 88 are non-null, that is, values that are not empty, they are 88, which is, this means that this particular column does not have empty values, and the data type is integer. The date has 88 entries, and the data type is date and time. Day, we can see we have one missing value here. The same thing as okay, I think that's the only place we have missing value. We only have one missing value in the day column because we have 87 out of 88 and data type is floats. Now, object here is similar to what you already know. Object data type is simply saying string data type, right? So objects in data frame is same thing as saying string. Do we get? So whatever we can do with string, we can also do it with object. All right, moving on. So we've used .shape, .info, and so on. Let us now move on to the next note. I'm working on from the Panda, from the Kaggle note, indexing, selecting, and assigning. How do we select? And now let's say this give me a summary of what I want. I want to select um, the customer age, right? I want to select the customer age alone. There are two ways to select. We can either use the native selector or you use the um, like strings. I call it string selector for my own, just for my own understanding anyway. I'll start with using the native selector, right? My variable that saves the data frame is bike sales. Bikes sales, right? Now, inside this data frame, I want to select customer age. I don't know why this is not giving me customer age, right? So if I do this, I'm going to have that particular series selected. You can see I have series. So I can do the first 5 of my series. So if I do the first 5 of my series, I have all these are the first 5 data I have in my customer age data, right? So that is native select. Sorry, that is not native selector rather. This is my own best way of select. So let me quickly use native selector. Apologies for that. So to use native selector, I don't know why I got carried away. I wanted to use native selector. So to use native selector, this is how to use it. You call your variable, then the column you want to use, then dot add. So this will also give me the results as previous. Do you understand? So that is selector. So I don't really like using the selector, but it's a very good way to go. You like it as a way to select. So the next is I've used. Let me go back to my normal way of selecting, my own best way of selecting. I will just come back here and put my customer underscore age, right? So as this is what I'll be using mostly. Let's move on. Let us select the first 10. Now, we can do that with add, but don't forget to create a data frame, you need in your this thing, you need a list of items. So which means we can also apply slicing, just the way we use it in list. So I can use slicing method the way we use it in list by using first 10, right? If you are so used to list, you will get easily understand this. So this is the first 10 data I have, right? Let me select age. Sorry, let me select country so we can see our country column, COUN, CHY. So these are first 10 countries that we have in the data set. So the next is to select using iLook. iLook is very useful in selecting. Why? Because it gives us additional features to select. Now, I'll quickly display my data set so that we can see sales data, bike sales, sorry, bikes sales. So let me do that add again so you can have that. Now I want to select, this column, I want to select date column, right? What other thing is important? Age group and the country. Those are the 3 columns I want to select. Date, age group, and the country. Fine, I can do that using this, using my previous way of selecting by just saying bike sales, bikes. Probably I should just use that first. Bike sales, right? Then I'll select the 3 columns I want, which is first date, right, comma, and the next one, age group, age group, then comma, then the last one, country, right? If I run this, I'm going to have an error, right? Let me run it so you can see it, because we have several things put together. So to correct that, you have to put double list here, like this. So if you run this now, you are going to have your output generated having 3 columns. So because I have more than one, that is why I'm putting this double list here. Are we together? Okay. So now what is now? I was talking about look and high look. What if I want row 1, row 10, and row 50? I cannot do that using this type of selector. It is very limited. So instead, I can just say bikes. Let me use in Excel. Right. I'll just come here, create a new cell there. Bikes dot. We have 2 types of. We can use iLook. We can use look. When I say iLook, I'm using the integer selector. When I say look, I'm using label-based selector. They're all in the table notes. You can read more. So if I say look, because I want to use the, I'll put comma here. Now, first of all, at the left-hand side of the comma is to select the rows. At the right-hand side of the comma is to select the columns, right? So let me just copy the columns I selected here, right? Just copy the columns I selected, and then paste it here at the right-hand side. Don't forget, after the comma is for columns, Before the comma at the left-hand side is for rows. So if I do something like this, if you are so familiar with this means that I'm selecting everything. Let me say I'm starting from 0 to the end, then comma, then colon. So if I run this, it's going to select all the rows and the 3 columns. Are we together? All the rows and 3 columns. You can see I have 88 rows selected, which is practically everything I have. Now I want to select a specific column now. I want to select a specific row. I want row 0, row 10, let's say row 50, and let's say row 100, right? So just 4 items that I want. 100 not okay. I don't have my data actually stopped at 80. Let me just peg it to 80. So I have four items selected. You can see the way we have done that. Selecting the using look, right? Now the next other way to select is to use the high look. To use high look, we're going to select this same thing here. I'll copy this, right? And I'll paste it here. But in this case, instead of look, I'm going to say I look, integer based locator, right? So now, if I use I look, I cannot input text here again. I have to use index number, right? So I will now go up and check what index is the date column. I'll go up to my data frame. Sales order is index 0. Date is index 1. So I'll go down, then change this to index 1. What is age group column? Go up again and go and check. Sales order index 0, date index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, index 6. So age group is index 6. So I'll change this and I'll put index 6. the next one is country column. Since this is 6, 7, 8, country is 8, right? So then I'll just go and put index 8 here, right? So I will run this. We'll have the same output just as the previous one. The only difference is that IDOC, we are going to use the index to reference the location, the columns. We are going to use the names to reference the columns. Is that clear? So moving away from that, let's take conditional. Okay, let's see a way to set our index. Let's assume I want to change my index to dates. Sometimes if you're working with time series, if you're working on time series analysis, it's always good to have your dates column as your index. So let's try to do that. So say our dates column as our index. In this case, we have 0, 10 as our index. So let's see. To do that, call bikes, the variable I use to store my data. That's bike sales. Bikes sales dots. So the command is set index, right? Set index. Then you put the name of the column you want to use, date. So if I run this, you see I have date column assigned as my index, as you can see here. That's how to set index. So the next is selecting, conditional selecting. Now, one thing is I want all the bikes that are from England, all the bikes that are from England in my data. So to filter out all the bikes that are from England, let's say sales, bike sales, right? You put this. I want to say which column has that country, right? Okay, that's states. I have country, state. Let me use country. United Kingdom. Okay, United England is in, I guess, United Kingdom. So now let's say I want to select this. So to filter out, I'll use equal to. Let me choose. Let me say Canada, for instance. CA, where country equals to Canada. All right. If I run this, I'm only going to have true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. All right. That's what it's going to give me. So to make it generate this thing, well, let me put it in a simpler way. Let me save this query here, what I want here. Let me save it as filter, Canada filter, Canada filter. Right, so I'm saving it inside this variable here. Now, if I run Canada filter, I will still have my true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Just like I have it in the previous output, right? So, but I need this Canada filter to be passed inside my main data, right? So then my main data frame is in bike sales. And you pass it like this. So if you run this, you're going to have only data sets that are from Canada. Again, so this is it. You can notice everything now just from Canada, 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 like that. I hope we understand. Okay, so so moving on from that, now let's say I want countries that are from Canada and also that are from Canada or what's other countries there again? United States. So I need to filter out United States again. Let me just copy this here. Then paste it here. So I'll call it US filter, right? So where country equals to United States. United States. I guess that is how they spelled it. All right, that's correct. So now I've filtered this. I filtered United States with this. So I just have to put the OR operator. To do the OR operator in Panda, you have to use a pipe like this. So either from Canada filter or the US filter. Once I do something like this now, so I'm going to have two countries in my data set, which is United States and Canada, as you can see here. All right. That is how to filter using using pandas. Is to filter out our relevant data sets using pandas. So now what I want to do is I want um, countries that are from Canada and their bike sales, or let's say their where unit price is greater than 2,000. Right? I want all bike sales where the unit price is greater than 2,000. So to do that, so I can just create a new filter. Let me copy this name of the column. I can create a new filter. Let me say unit price filter. Let me this here. So I'll just pass this into my bike sales. Bike sales. Which column is the unit? Which column am I dealing with? Column unit price. So I'll pass it inside this argument. Where unit price is greater than 2,000. So let's now go at Canada, price from Canada greater than 2,000. So to do that, let me just put this, group them. That's that. They're a group. Or, right? Sorry, that'll be and. So to use and, that'll be ampersand. So I want from Canada and it is what? Greater than 2,000. The bikes must be from Canada and from greater than 2,000. Or just any price, or just any bikes that are just from US. Right. So if I run this, okay, I have an error, unit price, key error. So the problem is check how they spell the column. How they spell the column name. So I'll just scroll down and see capital letter U, capital letter P. So I'll go back to my listing and it again. Check it. Capital letter U, capital letter P. I guess this is correct, unless they put S. Let me check that spelling again. Please, you can just kind of trigger if you have seen how they spelled it. Go because it is very, very, very unit price, UNIT. That is correct. The ask. This. Key error. It couldn't find. Let me generate that again. Bike sales dot info. See if I still have that column there. So I definitely have units price in my. So why is it telling me it's not there? Okay. Why is this? Let me check. Let me use another column first. Let me say, what column is there? Let me say cost, right? Let me change this to cost. See, say you can't find that particular column there. Okay, I prefer to go and rerun my data sets from here. I will go back to where I loaded the data set from the beginning, and I will load it down into my memory, into the memory, right? And I will go down. Let me see this. Do I still have the columns names? So going back to where I was, because I believe the column should be available. First of all, let me run this and see if I have the column already. We don't have that column there. Why is that? Why don't we have cost column? Cost. Oh, my mistake. If you are running that, I want to believe. Can I know the error you are having? Yes, 'cause kind of having. Let's see, bike sales. Dot info. Cost. I can have cost there. Okay, there is space. Look at. I think there is. If you check there is space in the name of the columns. You can see. I think that's where the issue is. So you couldn't find that particular. Let me put two space here first. 1, 2. Or let me put 1 and run it first. You couldn't find that. I guess I'll just copy the whole of this. This happens because of the way our data is being collected. So there's a lot of cleaning that needs to be done before this can work. Now look at it. There's space at the end. There's space at the beginning. Very, very funny. So the data collection is, so one part of your job as a machine learning engineer to clean the data. As you can see, the issue of locating such data. So take note, we have to do correction to this later to clean up these spaces in the name. So I'll go back to my distance and copy the way it is put in the data set, right? Then I'll go back and go and put it here. That's where I was filtering. All right, so I'll come back here, then paste it here. So that's how the data set is made. Space before, space after. So if I run this, so we have where first is greater than 2000. Are we together? So far we have filtered countries from Canada, bikes from Canada that have cost greater than 2000. Also, in our data set, we have bikes that are from United States. That is the filter. If you have you can ask. So wow, it's 4 o'clock already. We will. Okay, let me just entertain question if there is any, because I have to round up. This class will continue. Take note, in this particular data set, there's a lot of cleaning to be done. Just as this errors that we have, the error that we have here, it's not normal for us to have a data set in this format. So maybe next time we meet, we're going to learn how to clean data set. So questions, if there is any, if there is none, let's call it a day. Questions?